Holy smokes. I can't wait to bite that. Hey everybody, I'm Alonso with Gulf Coast Smoke. Welcome back to the channel. Here, we're not barbecue pitmaster world champions. We don't think we're the best, but one thing is for sure, barbecue, it's what we do. So if you're interested in a channel that teaches you how to cook, loves to do rub comparisons, loves to do all types of comparisons, go ahead and subscribe right now. You can also hit that little bell and you're notified every single time I put out a new video. So today I want to show you guys how to gain some confidence when you're cooking your briskets. One of the first things I ever wanted to cook when I started barbecuing was brisket. One of the first things my wife wanted to cook back in the day when she was barbecuing was a brisket. I can promise you, neither of those turned out very good. And that's okay. It's all about learning. It's all about trial and error. It's all about getting better. Barbecue is supposed to be fun. Don't make it too complicated. And that's exactly what we want to talk about today. So I'm taking this brisket, which by the way, I ran to HEB every day this week. I couldn't find a brisket. I went to Sam's this morning at 8 a.m. They don't open till 9. So I drove to HEB Plus in Corpus. They didn't have any briskets. I tried to go to a meat market. They didn't open, or they weren't open. So then I rounded back to Sam's. I was waiting in the back of the store just to get in. I'll leave a picture right here. And it was just crazy. So to get this brisket, it took a lot of work. It was just like a crazy morning. I really wanted to do this video, so I had to go out and find something. But anyway, back to the subject. I want to teach you how to make an easy brisket. Gain some confidence. So today, we're going to do things a little bit different than I normally do. We're going to be smoking on the Weber Smoky Mountain, but we're going to do it a little bit hotter. We're going to do it a little bit faster, and we're going to wrap in some foil. Specifically, we're going to use a foil pan and put some foil over it. Make sure we get it nice and tender. So, like I just said, this is not my preferred way to cook, but when you're starting out, it's always easiest to give yourself a chance to learn, and this is going to give you an opportunity. One of the things I'm going to do today is I'm actually not even going to use my Thermopin in the end. I want to show you guys another way that you can feel this brisket, see how tender it is. So enough of that, let's get right into it. Come on in a little bit closer. I want to show you this brisket. It is a prime grade from Sam's, and you can see 100% there's definitely some imperfections here. It's got a little cut here, probably from the butcher. On the back, I was noticing that there's a little bit more taken off of the flat than I want, but it's okay. Barbecue is all about adjusting. It's never going to be the same from day to day, so you just have to learn. Like I said, trial and error is the biggest thing. So first things first, we're going to trim this. And I'm going to show you how I like to do a very, very simple trim. There's a few things on this brisket I absolutely do not want. And again, this is all personal, but I just want to show you how I would do it. This piece of decal fat right here is extremely, extremely hard. It's not going to render out well, and it doesn't taste good. Let me show you. That's all fat. That's not going to taste good, and that's not going to render out. So I definitely recommend getting as much of this out as you can. So let's do that real fast. You can definitely cut a little bit of it out. You don't have to go crazy with it, but I honestly think that this is very, very important. So don't skip this part. Out of all the stuff we're going to talk about today, I definitely recommend not skipping this part. And I'll show you why. Like I said, I showed you the fat a second ago. And that was just a small incision that I showed you. But look at how deep this goes. And this is not meat. I'm not cutting any meat off here. That's all fat. You don't want to eat that. And also, you don't want to have to cut that off the brisket in the end. So if you end up cutting it off the brisket in the end, you're cutting off bark that you worked hours and hours and hours to create. So like I said, try and get it off as best as you can. This is all about being simple today. So we're going to leave it at that, okay? So just like I said, simple is the name of the game today. This isn't exactly how I would trim every single brisket, 100%. I'm not even going to lie to you. I like to go very, very detailed into my trims. I actually pull the flat and the point. I remove that fat seam in between, and I like to expose the point a lot to get a nice burnt end, to get a nice bark on the point. So Like I said, simple's the name of the game today. Come back in, let's keep trimming. So I flipped the brisket around, and you can see that there's a lot of fat here that's on the bottom side of the brisket. And you can also see that this is a little bit discolored. What I like to do is just get a small cut all the way and expose the nicer, redder looking meat. Don't worry about all this fat here. We're gonna take care of that in a minute. That is important too, but we'll take care of that in a sec. Let's just take a quick seam out. You see how that meat looks a little bit better? You can see that this is a prime grade. There's definitely some marbling running through. You know, if you want, you can get a little crazy with the trim. Like I said, we're trying to keep it simple, but I see some things that I would definitely normally go a little bit further into, but that's all right. So when you're looking at the top of this brisket, you see all this fat up here? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This is not the hugest deal ever, but I don't prefer it. So if you get your hand and put it under the brisket, just like this, you can actually get the fat raised a little bit, and it makes it easier to trim as long as you have a nice, good knife. Like I said, make sure it's sharp. It makes life a lot easier. I also prefer to trim when the brisket is pretty much straight out of the fridge, because the fat isn't room temperature and it's not melted, melted, so to say, and it makes it easier for me to get a lot of this stuff off. So real quick, we'll continue trimming here, and we'll be back with you in just a sec. I really quickly wanted to cut away from the trimming, and I wanted to talk about this part right here that I told you that it looks like the butcher maybe just messed up a little bit. Not a huge deal, but if you look real quick right here, you can see that this is extremely, extremely thin, and it's not the same thickness as the flat over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and round it out actually. Do not throw this away. I actually made the best burger I've ever made in my entire life with brisket trimmings. I'm going to leave a link up above so you guys can check that out. But don't throw this away. Freeze it, grind it, make yourself some nice burgers, sausage, something like that. This is good meat. Absolutely good meat. Do not waste it. All right, so if you're not aware, the brisket is actually made of two muscles, the flat and the point, right? So the point is actually where you get those burnt ends out of, or your marbled or your fatty slices, and the flat is where you get your lean slices. So the flat, we actually on the back want to leave about 1/4 inch of fat. So this is a little bit much. I'll trim that down a little bit. I'll more keep it kind of like this over here. But on the actual point over here, there's a lot of fat running through the meat. So this is a prime grade brisket, if I didn't mention that before, and it has plenty of fat running through the point. So I like to just expose this meat to get that nice bark on it. Now, I still think that this is gonna be part of that simple process. And I think that if you don't want to do this much, you don't have to, but it's very, very simple. I mean, I've been trimming for about 3 minutes now, and I'm pretty much done. So now, this is all I'm going to expose on the point. Now, let's go ahead and start at this fat. And I mean, there is just, honestly, there's so much fat on this. And so, straight up, look, I made a mistake here. I went a little bit too deep. I hit some meat. That's okay. Just adjust. We're not perfect. None of us are perfect. I messed up there. There's no way to get around it, but it's all right. We're gonna adjust. We're gonna keep trimming. We're gonna get this as good as we possibly can. So let's just keep going, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we got the brisket trimmed up. Now, this is gonna be the part where you can put your own personal flavor on this. So I'm gonna use a binder today. I'm using Worcestershire sauce. Honestly, when you're using a binder on this big a piece of meat, you're not gonna taste it. So you can use mustard, you can use olive oil, you can use whatever you want. I choose Worcestershire sauce. I don't know why, I can't explain it. It's just what I like to do. And then we're also gonna hit it with some Cosmos Q SPG. I did want to use just salt and pepper to make it as simple as possible, but I actually didn't have any coarse black pepper, and I forgot to grab some at the store. So real quick, come on in, let's hit it with a binder, let's season it up, and then we're going to take it outside, put it on that Weber Smoky Mountain. Okay, so we've got that brisket seasoned up, and now we want to go ahead and get our fire ready. You know how I usually like to smoke on my Weber Smoky Mountain. I use the Minion Method. Today, we're still not going to go into too much detail on it. I haven't got a request for a detailed video, so we'll just go ahead and rock and roll. Now, one of the things I am going to do differently today is I am going to run it a little bit hotter. We're shooting for 325, 350. I told you guys in the beginning, we're trying to make this as simple as possible for you guys, and I really think that this will make your process a lot simpler. We're trying to get you guys to have some confidence when you're cooking these briskets. It's not an easy meat to cook, but I promise you, if you just follow these steps, it'll turn out good. You got to have some patience, you have to want to get better, and you have to be able to use this as a trial and error. You're not always going to cook perfect briskets. You can ask anybody that I cook for. I don't cook perfect briskets every time by any means, but you can get it pretty close. So real quick, let's just go ahead and throw some chunks in here, fill it up, start the charcoal. We're gonna get that Minion Method rolling. So just to go into some small detail on the Minion Method, right here where you see that I'm actually digging out a little hole, this right here is where we're going to dump our hot coals. And then what's going to happen is the hot coals are going to start small and it's going to expand outwards, and that's going to give you a long cook. We're minimum going to get 8.5, 9 hours out of this. You might have to add some charcoal if you want to go longer, but we're cooking hot and fast. I'm hoping we get this brisket done in about 6 hours. Anyway, I can go into more detail on why this works and how it works later, but for now, this is good enough. Let's go ahead and get these coals lit, and we're going to throw them right on. And so I don't always put the charcoal starters in the actual charcoal itself, but today, like I said, we're running hot and fast. I want to get to 325, 350. That's going to help jumpstart the coals in the middle to get burning outwards, and then when we throw those about 15 charcoal briquettes right in the middle, we're going to get a good hot fire. So now let's go ahead and get that brisket, make sure it's sweated out, bring it back on, throw it on the pit. So it's been about 35 minutes. We let the Weber Smoky Mountain get up to 325. I closed off the vents in the back once it got around 300, and this one in the front is about halfway cracked. So if it climbs to 350, I'm completely okay with that. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it on, and we're gonna wait 3 hours until we look at this at all. 3 hours. Now it's time to be patient, let this hit some smoke, and then we're gonna worry about what we're gonna do after 3 hours when that time comes. right, so it's been 3 hours. This has been rocking at 325 steady. Go ahead and take a look at the thermometer real quick. And that's the way the Weber Smoky Mountain works. You get it dialed in, and it's super duper simple. I actually left for a little bit with one of my buddies, went and grabbed a power nutrition drink, and we were riding around for a little bit, came back, it was rocking and rolling. It works great. This is the first time I'm gonna look at this brisket 3 hours in. Let's take a look together. All right, so it's definitely looking nice. You can 100% see that it's still, the bark is not all the way set. So I want it to keep going, actually. It is not where I want it to be. I definitely want this set a little bit more. Right here in this corner, you can actually see it's a little set, but there's still some spots here. You can see on my fingers, the rub is actually still coming off. So let's go ahead and give this another 30, 45 minutes, come back out and take a look at it again. Okay, we're sitting at 4 hours now. I want to go ahead and take a look at this. So let's look at it together, see how the brisket is looking. I think it might be time to wrap it, and then we're going to go inside and I'll show you how easy that part's going to be. Do not forget, the word of today is simple. I want to show you guys that you can cook this brisket. You can be confident. Don't overthink it. So let's take a look real quick and see what we're working with. Great color. You can see that it's definitely building a nice bark here. It's got some juices coming off, but none of the seasoning is coming off anymore. So I like where this is at. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and take this inside, and then we're going to wrap it up. I'll show you exactly what we're going to do there. All right, so we're inside now, and like I told you guys a second ago, this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever showed you on this channel, how to wrap this brisket. I'm just kidding. Don't forget, simple. That's what we're going for today. So I told you earlier I'm not going to use a thermopin, but I am going to use a probe that's going to stay in there that'll give me an internal reading. If you don't have one of these, I highly recommend you get one. When you're smoking a large piece of meat, I do think it's extremely important to keep an eye on that internal temp. You don't want to overcook this. You want to get it right. Now, a little bit later, like we talked about earlier, I am going to show you how you can probe it without one of those thermopins, but you still want to keep an internal temp. You want to have an idea. Temperature is a guideline. It's not 100% how it's going to turn out. It's not a magic number. 195, 203, 210, I've heard them all. But I promise you, I've had briskets finish at different times, and you just have to feel it. You have to know what you're trying to feel. So come on in real fast. I want to show you where we're going to stick this probe and then how we're going to wrap this up. So first things first, get this probe. And what I actually like to do with brisket is come in on the side, because you can see the middle of the flat is there. Go into the middle, and that's going to give you a more accurate reading on it. So from here, what I also like to do is throw some parchment paper over the top of the brisket, and that makes sure that the foil we're going to put over this in a second doesn't stick to the brisket. We don't want that bark coming off, so that parchment paper helps with that. So let's go right outside, put this on the pit, and now we're just going to watch that internal temperature. We're going to start probing at around 195 degrees to see how it feels, and then let it ride until it is done. All right, so an hour and 20 minutes later, we accidentally missed the 195 mark. We were out in the front playing. If you can hear the weed eater and the lawnmower going on over there, I apologize. Not much I can do, just terrible timing on the video, but right now we do want to check this meat. So I told you I'm not going to use my thermopan, and I'm not. I just have a little skewer that I use for kebabs every once in a while, and we're going to feel the meat. I'm going to try and get a close-up of the meat so I can show you what to look for, because you're not going to be able to feel it like I am, but you'll be able to tell if I get some resistance, zero resistance, or whatever. So real quick, let's take a look at it together. Nope. See that? Still plenty of resistance. This isn't ready yet. See how I poke it in and it's actually pulling the brisket up? There's still plenty of resistance. It's a little bit better back here in the point. You see that? You see how it's a little bit better? But overall, this isn't ready. We got to let it keep going, and we got to make sure that this thing is all the way ready to go. So let's just let it keep riding. We'll check it in a little bit. All right, so 6 hours overall, and we're actually finally done with this brisket. I told you hot and fast, I wanted to make this easy, and I just checked it a second ago with the kebab stick, and it felt really good. I ripped the foil on accident, so you're gonna see that there's no foil on it, but let's take a look together one more time. So back here, like butter, feels really good. Here in the middle, right in the thickest point of the flat, like butter, feels really nice. I mean, that thing is sliding in and out, so we're gonna get this inside now. We're gonna let it rest for an hour minimum, and then we'll go ahead and slice it up. All right, 7 hours later, I'm ready to slice into this brisket and see how it turned out. I'm starving, it smells really good, but none of that really matters. It's just how it tastes, it's if it's tender or not. And again, the whole point of this video was to simplify the whole process. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. This is not my preferred way 100% to do a brisket. I like to smoke it at 275 for a long time, wrap it in pink butcher paper, let it get nice and tender, get a heavy bark on it. And when you put it in foil, it does steam it. So you lose a lot of that bark, but it's okay. It's all about gaining that confidence like we talked about earlier. It's all about becoming a pit master in your backyard. You don't have to be a world champion like I said earlier or anything like that. It's all about bringing love to the barbecue, sharing with your family, and sharing with your friends. So enough talking. Let's go ahead and slice into this. I do want you guys to come in so you can take a look at this piece of meat. And we can talk about what it feels like. And then we'll take some slices and see what it tastes like. All right, first things first. You tell me how that looks. I actually can't even see it. It's just my wife looking at it. Oh yeah, that looks really nice actually. Nice ring, nice smoke ring. A lot of juice coming through. Holy smokes. I can't wait to bite that. So I'm just impatient. I'm actually just going to take a quick slice out of this. Right out of the middle there. Comes right apart. And a super duper close up because I literally cannot wait. I mean, perfect. So good. Super juicy. Delicious. I mean, a great brisket. I'm telling you guys, it does not have to be difficult. Simplify barbecue. Don't overthink it. Have some confidence. You saw how easy I did this today. You can do this on a pellet grill, on a stick burner, on a Weber Smoky Mountain, on a Weber kettle. If you're interested in seeing me smoke on a Weber kettle, drop a comment below. I can definitely show you guys that as well. This is not that hard. I mean, I know that brisket's intimidating. I still get a little intimidated myself, but I have to remind myself, hey, if you mess it up, it's okay. This is for fun. This is what we love to do. This is just a family affair. So I'm going to go ahead and keep slicing. We'll get some more footage, and then we're actually going to take a slice of the flat and take a look at that as well. All right, so that point's absolutely delicious. I apologize about not being able to hold on until the end. You saw me slicing up the flat, but how tender is it? Let's check it out. Not too bad. Got a little clapper there. Come closer, take a look at it. Pretty good moisture, nice smoke ring. Let's see how it pulls. Oh yeah, definitely tender. Let's take a quick bite. Yeah, I mean, great easy brisket. So all in all, like I said, today took me about 7.5 hours. I cooked this brisket hot and fast on my Weber Smoky Mountain at 325 the whole time. In the very end, we didn't even use a thermopin to verify the temps or anything like that. I used a kebab stick just to show you what I'm looking for whenever I probe that meat. You want to feel zero resistance. Exactly like room temperature butter is what you want to feel. That's what we felt today. This was a great brisket. And I'm telling you, you guys can do it too. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to pick that brisket up, put it in your backyard, get rolling, and impress your friends. If you guys like a video like this, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. I thought it was going to be really cool to show you guys, and my wife and I were actually super duper excited to shoot this video today because I was looking over YouTube and I honestly feel like there's not very many videos that show you how to cook one easy. I understand it doesn't have the bark. It doesn't have a lot of the low and slow aspects that you get, but you have a great brisket. This is going to impress 100%. Gain that confidence. Then, after you can cook this perfectly 10 times, move on to the next step. Try with butcher paper. Lower it down to 275. Try different things all the time. Don't be afraid to mess up. I promise you, I mess up all the time. I'm lucky I didn't mess up today. I'm glad I was able to show you guys a good brisket. So thank you so much for tuning into this video. One other thing I want to talk to you guys about is right now I currently have a giveaway going on my Facebook. Go over there, find the post. I'm giving away a Weber Jumbo Joe 18, a chimney starter, and a nice set of tongs and spatula. I know tongs and spatula doesn't sound that great, but these have LED lights on them. They're sick, and they're lifetime warranty on the LED lights and everything like that, waterproof. It's an awesome set. So go to my Facebook, check that out. If you guys don't already subscribe to the channel, go ahead and subscribe right now. Hit the little bell. You'll be notified every time I put out a new video. Thanks. Have confidence in your cue no matter what. Barbecue, it's what we do. See you on the next one.